Hello, good to see you again. Welcome to Block 2, Solving Problems with Multiplication and Division, Lesson 8. I'll share my screen. So, in your previous lesson, you learned how to use formal written methods or formal methods, which was mainly column or grid multiplication of integers. But in this lesson, you're going to learn how to use formal methods to multiply decimals. So if you had not watched the previous video, I would encourage you to go and do so that you would understand much better this lesson. I want to also let you know that there are other methods of doing decimal multiplication, such as Vedic maths, but in this lesson, our focus is to know how to do it using formal written methods. All right. Before we start, I would like you to like the video, share the video with children you think could benefit, subscribe to the channel, and click on the notification bell so that when new videos are uploaded, you'll be notified. By doing this, you'll help us grow our mission to educate the global population of children, regardless of their economic situation. Thank you. Before we start, I would like you to do the retrieval practice questions in 3 minutes. Assuming you've answered the questions, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. So for the first one, 13 times 10,000 is 130,000. And then 13 times 10 times 1,000 is same thing as 130 times 1,000. Notice that the calculations are similar, but just expressed differently. And that's what we notice in the two calculations. Next, Amir says that 21 times 23 is equal to 393. Without working this out, how would we explain that Amir is wrong? Of course, we could explain this just thinking about what 20 times 20 would be. 20 times 20 is 400. So we know that 21 is greater than 20 and 23 is greater than 20. So it doesn't sound reasonable to think that 21 times 23 would be less than 400. So, I mean, it's wrong. It should be greater than 400. And here is question 3, a lesson that we did quite a while ago, a long time ago. So the first term of a sequence is 3. The term-to-term rule is to multiply by 3 and to subtract 2. So we're asked to write down the first 5 terms. So if the first term is 3, the next one will be 3 times 3, which is 9, minus 2, that will be 7. And then so on and so forth. The third one will be yeah. So the third one will be so that's the second one, and then the third one will be 19. Okay. So on and so forth, and 55. Okay. So if you do not remember this, you can refer to our lessons where we did term to term rule. So first term is 3. Second term is um 3 times 3, which is 9 minus 2. And then that one will be 19, 55, and 163. Okay, next one. If we want to, so we'll do some new learning. So if we want to do decimal multiplication, we can think about it first by looking at the place value chart. So 1.4 times 6 means 6 lots of 1.4. Okay, so if we think about this, if we have 6 lots of 1.4, then we can notice and see, okay, looking at the place value for the tenths, how many tenths do we have that can make up ones? We know that we have 10, we can see 2 groups of 10. So that will give us 2 ones. So we can exchange these two groups of tenths to give us 1, because 10 tenths is equal to 1. Okay. And now if we look at our value, we now have 8 ones, 0.4. So 8 ones and then 4 tenths. But let's now look at this calculation, this integer calculation. So by now, you must remember how we do integer calculations. And the way we use this is we can use integer calculations to do decimal multiplication. Okay, so let's think about these decimal multiplications and what we can do, how we can answer this decimal multiplication by thinking about the answer to this. Now, for this one, you notice that 24 has become 2.4. So we divided by 10. So we want to use this to answer this question here. So 24 to become 2.4 has to be to divide by 10. What stays the same is the 3. So it means our answer is going to have to be divided by 10. And that gives us 7.2. All right. I want you to have a think at how you're going to do these calculations. I'll give you 1 minute. Have a think. And then you can write your answer down so that when I reveal the answer, you should be able to mark your work. Okay. All right. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the question, here are the answers. So we know that 24 times 3 is 72. So here we have 0.03. So what's different? To get from 3 to 0.03, we divide by 100. So it means our answer is going to be divided by 100. So that's 0.72. So something you should know is when you have a decimal, something I really want to mention is when you have a decimal multiplication, it is important that you do the integer multiplication. So you ignore the decimal, you do the multiplication as if it's just an integer multiplication. And then you use that calculation that you've done to think about the solution to the decimal multiplication. All right. Next one. We have 24 times 0.3. So what's the same? 24. For the 3, we've divided the 3 by 10. That's why it's 0.3. So it means our answer is going to be divided by 10. This one is 2.4 times 0.3. Well, it seems nothing is the same. 2.4 is different from 24, and then 0.3 is different from 3. But what you notice is we have divided 24 by 10 and 3 by 10. So to divide by 10 and to divide again means your answer will be divided by 100, because to divide by 10 and to divide by 10 again is to divide by 100. So your answer will be 0.72. So if you do not know how we do decimal division, if you do not know how we do division using powers of 10, you can refer to our previous lesson to learn about this. Let's look at this one. If we have 2.7 times 34, we can estimate our answer first just to check after we've done our calculation that we're actually right. Now, 3 times 30 is 90 because 2.7 is approximately equal to 3. Yeah, it's approximately 3. And then 34 can be rounded to 30. Now, that becomes 27 times 34. So we can use this calculation, this integer calculation, to look at or to work out the answer to this decimal calculation. Now, I want you to do this quickly and then come up with an answer. Okay, so here are the answers. So here, this is what we'll get. Now you can see that this is being divided by 10. So that's the difference between this and that. So, but this is the actual calculation we were given. So it means our answer will be divided by 10. Okay, this stays the same. This has not changed. 34 is still there. So that gives us 91.8. So our answer is pretty close. So by doing, sometimes when you're given a calculation, it is helpful to do an estimation of the calculation before you do the actual calculation, so that you can use it to check whether you're close enough to the answer. Okay, it's now time for you to pause the video and answer question 1 and 2 in 4 minutes. All right, assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the question, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. So here you were asked, use Tommy's method to work out the answer. So you can see here we could have had, we have just one group of 10 tenths, which will give us one of the ones. So we move it over, that will be 7.2. And then use a place value chart and counters to work out these calculations. So but if you could use a different method, but using the counters is to help you really understand how place value work and why we do our carry when we do our calculations. But here are the answers for you to mark. And then you're asked to work these out and then use these answers to work out these calculations. So by now, you know how to do decimal calculations using your integer calculations to work out the actual answers of the decimal calculations. All right, pause the video and answer question 3 in 2 minutes. Okay, assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the questions, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. So here you ask, Amir is working out this calculation. First, he works this out, okay, which is right here. How can Amir use this working to calculate this? So you can see that you divide the answer by 10. Why? Because the calculation that Amir did ignored the 1.7, which is 10 times smaller than this integer calculation that we did. So our answer should be 10 times smaller. So that will be 47.6, which is to divide by 10. Okay, question 6. Pause the video and answer question 4. Pause the video and answer question 4 in 3 minutes. Okay, assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the questions, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. So question 4, you were asked, Alex is working out 0.2 times 0.4 in her head. So here is what Alex did. So I know that 2 times 4 is 8. I multiplied each number in the question by 10. So I will divide 8 by 10. The answer is 0.8. Of course, she's wrong. Yeah, you can see that this is to divide by 10 when you look at how 2 and 0.2 are connected and 4 and 0.4 are connected. You're dividing by 10 here and here. So your answer should be divided by 100. Because to divide by 10 and to divide by 10 is to divide by 100. And then work out these calculations in your head. Okay, so here we can say, oh, okay, 3 times 2 is 6. We know it's 0.3, so my answer will be 10 times smaller. You just say 0.6. Here, 3 times 3 is 9. So your answer will be 10 times smaller because this is 10 times smaller. Here, 2 times 3 is 6. But here you see this is 10 times smaller and 10 times smaller. So it means you're dividing by 100. So your answer will be 0.06. So that's how you use, your understanding of decimal multiplication to answer questions. So you do the integers in your head for some of the calculations, and you think about the divisions that would have taken place, whether it's 10 times smaller or 100 times smaller, which is to divide by 10 or to divide by 100, and you reference that in your answer. You make that happen in your answer. Okay, let's do a new learning for this lesson. So if we have this calculation where we're told estimate the answer to the calculation 4.7 times 0.3, to estimate means we need to round these numbers to one significant figure. So if you don't know what that means, you need to go and search for our video where we have learned about how to round to one significant figure. In one of our earlier lessons, we've learned about it. So one significant figure of 4.7, when rounded, 4.7 when rounded to one significant figure is 5. 0.3 when rounded to one significant figure is 0.6. So when we do this calculation, we can actually do this in our head, thinking about our last exercise which we've done. So we can say, well, 5 times 6 is 30, but this is 10 times smaller, so we've divided by 10. So our answer has to be divided by 10, so it's 3, yeah? Because 30 divided by 10 is 3. But if we do the actual calculation using a calculator, we'll see that it is 2.961. So our answer is pretty good. So our estimate is pretty good because if you round 2.9, you'll get 3. Okay, when we do this calculation, sometimes we can use calculations like this to find the missing number in a decimal calculation. So we can see here that this is divided by 100. And we can see here that the answer is divided by 1000. So you're thinking, okay, if I divided one of them by 100 and the other one, I have to put something there that I will be dividing by, okay, so that the answer will be to divide by 1000. That has to be 10, because to divide by 100 and to divide by 10 is equal to dividing by 1000. So we know the missing number there should be 17.6. So sometimes we could get questions like this where we're required to work out the missing numbers in a calculation. It's now time for you to pause the video and practice what you've learned. So pause the video and answer question 5 in 4 minutes. Okay, assuming you've paused the video, here are the answers. So mark your work and celebrate your success. So remember to estimate, you round the numbers to one significant figure and you do your calculations. So this is just 2 times 40. Okay. And then this is just 8 times 0.4. Okay. So here are the calculations. So mark your work and celebrate your success. Okay, pause the video and answer question 6 in 2 minutes. So you're required to use this calculation to work the missing numbers out, to find what the missing numbers are. Okay, assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the questions, here are the answers. So mark your work and celebrate your success. All right, pause the video and answer questions 7 and 8 in 3 minutes. Okay. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the question, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. All right. So here you ask, Mr. Jones needs 4 different lengths of pipe. The pipe costs £1.34 per meter. Work out the total cost of the pipes Mr. John needs to buy. So round your answer to the nearest penny. So when you total round, you know that you're going to be estimating. So you're estimating. Okay. So the pipe cost. So Mr. John needs 4 different lengths of pipe. So these are the lengths. The pipe costs £1.34 per meter. Work out the total cost of the pipes Mr. John needs to buy. So he needs to buy these different pipes. So round your answer to the nearest penny. So here, this will be to one significant figure. This will be £1. So that will be 3. So £3, that will be 4. So 3 plus 4, that will be 2. So 3 plus 4, that's 7, plus 2, that's 9. And then that's 0.4. So when you round all of them and work out your answer. So to do this, I just need to write quickly. So to do this, you can do your decimal multiplication. So you do 2.8 times 1.34. So what is good to do is to do these calculations first. Don't round them first. So do these calculations, then do this one, 4.1. Okay, 4.1 times 1.34. So you do these calculations. When you finish, you add all of them up, and then you round before you round your answer to the nearest penny. Okay. Then this one, the first term in a sequence is 3. The term-to-term rule is to multiply by 3.2, then add 1. So find the next 2 terms in the sequence. So for the second term, we're going to do 3 times 3.2, then add 1. So for the sake of time for the video, I'm just going to do this quickly. So 3 times 3.2 will be 9.6. Okay, plus 1, that will be 10.6. Okay, then this one, the third term. So remember, the term-to-term rule is to multiply by times by 3.2 and then add 1. So it's going to be 10.6 times 3.2. Okay, so you can do your multiplication. You can see the answer will be close to 34.92, and then you add 1. So for the sake of time, by now you know how to do your multiplication. I'm not going to go into detail of how to do this. So this one can be done as 106 times 32, and then when you finish, you divide your answer by 100. Okay, and that will be your answer. Don't forget to add 1 to your answer. Okay, so for the sake of time, I'm not going to go into detail, but I've just explained how to do this so that you get this answer. So you multiply these out. The next one will be 1.6 times 1.34, and then the next one will be 0.4 times 1.34. Okay, so when you finish, so this calculation will be like 16 times 134. This will be 4 times 134. This will be 28 times 134. This will be 41 times 134. So you do your calculations. Remember, we're working out the total cost of the pipes Mr. John needs to buy. When we finish, we're going to add the answer for our decimal calculations, and then we'll divide our answer. We round our answer to the nearest penny. Okay. All right. So that brings us to the end of our lesson. So what have we learned so far? We have learned that for you to do decimal multiplication, you have to work out the integer multiplication. So you do the calculation as if the decimal is not there. And then when you finish, you introduce the place value that you ignored, or the division that the decimal places that you ignored when you did your calculation. So for example, we can do very quickly in our head 0.2 times 3. So we know 0.2 times 3 is just 2 times 3, which is 6. But remember, 0.2 is what we were given to do. So it means our answer will have to be divided by 10 to acknowledge the fact that we were asked to do 0.2 times 3. Okay, and then if you're asked to do an estimate, you have to round your numbers to one significant figure and then do your calculation to give you your answer. Okay, well done for sticking around and for learning. Until next time, take really good care of yourself, and bye-bye.